Hello, hello. Welcome to the Comeback Coach podcast. I'm your host, Mike Searles, and in this episode, we're talking about the benefits of humour in life and business and how it can help even when you might be feeling stuck in a setback. Now, how many times have you heard it said that laughter is the best medicine? Reader's Digest has been printing their little general interest magazine for over 100 years, and it has always featured humour pages and columns, such as laughter is the best medicine. The humour pages have been some of the most loved sections for regular readers over the years. And it's a fact, laughing is good for you. So what is it about laughing that is so good for us, even when we don't necessarily feel like laughing? I spoke with somebody who has the answer. Her name is Jenny Weldon Locklin, and she earns part of her living by making people laugh. Jenny's company is Creative Message Media, the company that offers all things comedy, whether that's an entertaining training or marketing video, a hilarious tribute video for a birthday, retirement or an anniversary party, or a fully customised comedy show. Jenny delivers the laughs. She's also a 2-time winner of Toastmasters International Humorous Speech Contest in 2011 and 2016. She's also been featured on the Dr. Oz show for her winning submission of a funny video. She's brought her stand-up comedy acts into the lives of the elderly at aged care homes, and her YouTube channel has over 90 funny videos. Listen in now as we start our conversation with Jenny Weldon Locklin on laughter being the best medicine. Well, here we are, and I'm so happy to be having this conversation with you, Jenny Locklin. Welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Mike. Yes, so good to be here.
Terrific. Now, our audience knows already about you and more about what you're about, but there's 3 reasons why I've been looking forward to this conversation. Actually, there's 3 plus 1. One is your business, Creative Message Media. I'd like to know more about that, and I think our listeners will find that of interest too. Second is that you're the co-founder of a Facebook group, Speaking to Grow Your Business. And this group is aimed to help coaches and business people and other professionals to develop speaking skills, help them grow their business. The third reason is that you're a member of Toastmasters and you are the twice winner of the Toastmasters Humorous Speech Contest. We want to hear more about that, and I'm actually going to provide a link in the, the comments section? No, not the comments, the section.
Notes. Yeah,
that's it. Thanks, Jenny. There'll be a link there so people can watch some of your videos, because that leads to the plus 1. So there's 3 plus 1. The plus 1 reason is probably the most important reason, and that is you make me laugh, which is pretty damn good because you are a stand-up comedian as well. So let's get into this then. Tell us about, first of all, before we start talking about the business side of things, Jenny Locklin has another name, Jenny Weldon Locklin. So you where were you born? Tell us about your family, your early life. How did life begin for Jenny?
Well, I had a great childhood. I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona, and my dad is almost 80, and he's still speaking. He's been a professional speaker ever since I was born. Speakers Hall of Fame, corporate seminars, executive speech coach, and so was a motivational speaker, really known as that back in the 80s and 90s. So I grew up with a motivational speaker dad, and my friends would always say, "Is your dad ever in a bad mood?" And I kind of took it for granted when I was a kid, and now that I've gotten older and I see how fortunate I was to grow up with that, with him as my dad, my mom and my dad, both positive. So I grew up here in Arizona and had a great childhood, and still live here in Arizona.
You have siblings, brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have an older sister, 6 years older than me. and she lives here. We're close, and so it's nice. We have a small family, but we're all here in town.
So you're a Weldon by birth, and you have grown up in Arizona. You still live in Arizona. Now you're married, and you describe your husband, John, as the handsome husband. You've got together a teenage daughter who I've seen packs a very powerful punch into a punching bag. So I don't know how that goes at home, but that's good. So what's family life like? What do you do with husband, John, and daughter?
Well, they're usually telling me, let's see, I practice some of my jokes on them, and my husband usually falls asleep when I tell the jokes. My daughter goes, wait, is that comedy? Are you using that? So I've kind of learned to, I don't know if it's the delivery or maybe it's tough love. And so like, if it doesn't fall well here, then I know it's going to kill somewhere else. Right. So I just say, guys, I'm not even going to charge you for those jokes. Like those are free today. But actually my husband is very witty, super smart. We're complete opposites. He is extremely intellectual. He analyzes jokes. He knows, he's very responsible. He's an adult, Mike. He's the adult. And then so pretty much whatever he's not, I am. So we kind of complete opposites, but it seems to work out. And then my daughter is a lot like me. And so, but she has a great sense of humor as well. And, yeah, so we have a lot of fun.
That's great. That's terrific, Jenny. And all right, so where did you go to school? You attended university. You graduated, I presume.
Yeah, went to Well, I graduated high school with an award, which I did not receive. Most likely to become a doctor or most likely to be a professional athlete. I received an award of the best laugh. And actually at the time I was like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Like, this is so lame. Again, but as you probably find in your own life, is when you get older, that's when you start to appreciate things that you kind of took for granted. So at the time I thought that was the biggest insult. And now I love that was something that they thought I had a sense of humor. So I always have had a sense of humor. And I think that's really important. If you are going to try to add humor in your own life, you've got to be able to laugh at yourself and find the humor in even painful things. And so that was the one award I won in high school, was best laugh. And then I went to ASU, became a PE teacher. And what I love about Zoom, you can't tell, but in fact, I hope we never go back into in-person meetings, Mike, because people will be so disappointed. I'm so short, but Zoom, you have no idea how short people, tall or short people are. And so I was so short, and I was young when I started. So I would, be walking around the halls and the kids would be like, wait, are you a kid or are you a teacher? And and it was fun. It was a really fun job. But then when I became pregnant and stayed home with my daughter, I stopped teaching. So I was actually one of those teachers. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I was one of those teachers that you'd walk into the cafeteria and the kids would be throwing hot dogs against the wall. And I would just be cracking up. But then all the other teachers would be really upset with me that I wasn't reprimanding them. So.
Oh, look, you are my kind of person. You would have been my kind of teacher. I would have pulled you over with me and we would have been throwing hot dogs at the wall together, I can assure you. All right. So I think this is a good segue. You brought up how humour is so important. And as you know, the audience of this podcast, people who are predominantly people who have had some success in their life, and then for one reason or another they find themselves in some kind of a rut, or they feel themselves in a rut. They're stuck. They can't get out. It's been brought on by some kind of an adversity or a setback. It could be health, it could be financial, it could be a relationship, it could be career, it could be anything. Mm-hmm. And I'm reminded of what Reader's Digest used to publish, probably still do, a very popular column. In fact, Reader's Digest is known for the last 50 or 60 plus years that it's been published or more for its humour columns. And they had a column, Laughter is the Best Medicine. So you as a stand-up comedian, somebody who has and does make a living from making people laugh, what take do you have on that laughter is the best medicine? What is it about laughter and humour that helps people get through tough times?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. And, oftentimes things can be so hard and so sad or so stressful or so detrimental that when somebody says, oh, come on, you could laugh about it. It's like, what, are you kidding me? It's so painful. But you probably have heard this with comedy, is that there's a formula, and that is pain plus time equals comedy. And if you think back at your life, think back like when you were a kid, some of the things maybe you did as a teenager or as a younger kid to your parents. Maybe at the time it was so painful what you did to your parents as a teenager. But now that time has passed, think about, those are probably the stories that you sit around and tell your kids or your friends, and they're the best stories, right? Because time has passed. Mm-hmm. And so if you think about, and you might be thinking, well, I don't know if I've really had those moments. And the best way to think of those of your own is think of firsts and failures. So like your first job, or your first car, your first kiss, the first time you were in prison. All of those things are going to kind of like stir up some memories, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, yeah, that is funny now, but it wasn't at the time. Mm. And so, or even failures, failed relationships. And so the key is if you can start to look at things, think of like old fashions or hairstyles. You look at old pictures and it's funny to you now because it seems so ridiculous. And so if you kind of start, it's like a muscle. When you go to the gym, you start working out and you get in better shape. If you start to kind of get your mind to look for things like that, you start to train your mind to find the humor in it. And it's not going to happen right away. In fact, when you're going through a hard time, it's actually really important. I don't know how you feel about this, but it's, in my opinion, it's very important that you feel the pain and you admit this really stinks right now. And you cry, and sometimes crying, side note, crying is the same benefits as laughter. It releases the same feel-good drugs. I always say oxytocin. It's not oxytocin. Yeah. Oxycontin, which is the one it releases Oxycontin, whatever. It releases the feel-good drug. And so it's the same thing, crying. So sometimes if you cry and then you can cry till you laugh, oh my gosh. That's really healing. Or sometimes you laugh so hard, you laugh until you cry. That's like the best. But so I don't know if that helps kind of. Of course it helps. It's very helpful. And I do agree with you. You asked me, you said to me, I don't know what you think about that. Well, here's what I think about that. I think you're 100% right. And I'm sure that most, if not everybody watching this who is going through some kind of a tough time right now, perhaps, or they know of somebody, hearing that it's okay to let that emotion. The worst thing is to hold that emotion in, negative emotion, the pain. That's good, Jenny. Thanks for sharing that. So when I wanted to ask you, and if this is a question you'd rather not answer, it's okay. But comedians and people who are funny and make us laugh often have some of the most painful experiences from their upbringing, not childhood, I'm saying, but just throughout life. Has there been a time, I don't want to get too personal with the question, but has there been a time when you've had a struggle or a setback and you've been able to come back from it, bounce back, so to speak? Well, And let me clarify. So comedian, I have done stand-up comedy, and I've done a lot of comedy in the senior centers, which happens to be my favorite. Senior living centers, nursing, those are the best places, by the way, to perform comedy, because it's 2:00 in the afternoon. It's not a 12 p.m. show, or, like a midnight show.
Yeah.
And they don't laugh very loud, Mike, seniors, but I think it's they're afraid that if they laugh really loud, they're going to fart. But anyways, and it's great because, but actually, so you asked what kind of painful moments, and actually I kind of chuckle because, I really haven't. I mean, yes, I have had some very challenging times like everyone else, but
yeah.
I mean, I had great parents. I've been healthy. I've been married. I haven't gone through, anything that I would say compared to what some people have gone through. But at the same time, whether you have small setbacks or small challenges or big ones, it's really on how you look at them. And I think that's one of the things that, if I were to give my daughter, I always say, I'm so glad that you have a sense of humor. Because if you have a sense of humor, it is like your get out of jail. It is the best thing to get you out of a dark place or a challenging place. And I have a girlfriend, and sometimes we'll be talking, and I'll be crying over something. She's a parent too. We've had some really hard parenting moments. So I remember many times calling her and crying, and then we would end with laughter. And she goes, I know you're okay, because now we've gotten to the laughter. So you're okay once you get to that laughter. Now you might be thinking, yeah, well, what I'm going through is really hard. I'm not going to just start laughing about it right now, but give it time. Give it time, and just kind of think, how could this be worse? Sometimes you can even find humor. This is so bad. This is so painful. This is like the end of the world. It couldn't possibly get any worse. Then go, well, could it? How can we make this worse? The only way that this could be worse is, and then try to jot down, write a list of things. What could make this worse? And it's almost like that ridiculousness might make you laugh. You could try it. But my biggest advice is just to give it time. When the very first time I did stand-up comedy, Mike, I was backstage. It was an open mic. It was the very first time. And I was with all these 20-year-old dudes. And here I am, a middle-aged mom, and I'm in the back, and I'm so nervous. And the guy before me starts jumping up and down. And I said, what are you doing? And he goes, well, you got to get out your nerves. And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. So I started to jump up and down, but I'm a middle-aged mother. And if you know what happens, but there's a reason why a lot of middle-aged mothers don't jump rope and go jump on trampolines. And I just started peeing, literally. And all of a sudden, I hear the MC say, put your hands together for Jeanette Lefton. And I'm like, who? So not only is my name getting butchered, Jeanette Lefton, what? I have pee. Now, that was so painful. I wanted to literally die. I was so, you know how humiliated I was? Now that I think back, and it wasn't that, it was a few years ago. I think back at that. It's one of my favorite things to reminisce about.
Yeah, there you go.
And so just know it's the same thing, failed relationships. You might be dealing with a really a broken heart right now, and you're in the dumps. But I promise you, give it time, because it's the same thing with, parenting. Or, I mean, I've got a daughter. When she was 8, I was driving her to school. I can still remember, it was super bad traffic. I was driving the school carpool. And she looks at me and she goes, "Mom, with that sunlight coming in through the window." And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "I can see all the hair on your chin." Okay. That was a painful moment. Did I want to disown my child? Yes. Time has passed. And we can laugh about it. It's, we laugh about it anytime we remember that. So just know that, trust that it's going to be a great source of comedy for you and healing. And if you can laugh, you can heal from it.
That's wonderful, Jenny. Really wonderful. Great advice. Thank you for sharing. So let's talk now then, little snippets of each. There's a few things, the creative message media, the Facebook group, the Toastmasters experience, and also a little bit about your dad, Joel Weldon, because I'm sure those who are watching and listening who know of your dad would just like to hear something about what it's like to be working with someone of your dad's status in the whole arena of motivational speaking, etc. So, all right, award winner, a diploma, an honorary doctorate in the best or worst laugh at university or whatever it was. So, okay, so you're on the world stage with that, and creative message media. What is it? How does it work? What's happening there?
Yeah, it's a website that you can go to, Creative Message Media, and it's all things humor. So I started out doing videos, training videos to teach people things in an entertaining way. And there's all kinds of videos there you can see. Many of them are teaching you how to do something. It's not just, for nonsense. Some are nonsense, but a lot of them are teaching. I do like to teach in an entertaining, engaging way. And you'll also see some things that I've done at the senior living communities, which as COVID kind of shut down this last year, but they're kind of coming back up again. So that would be, if you're looking for a humorous video, you have somebody in mind that's having a birthday or anniversary, and you want to do a humorous, engaging, unique gift that's also entertainment, you can find that there. And then,
So that's creativemessagemedia.com?
Yes.
Good. So I'll put that link in that section beneath so people can see that. And part of that, correct me if I'm wrong, is you've actually written and performed these short videos in an advertising marketing sense as well, haven't you, for some organisations or companies? So is that that people can look? All right. You're a co-founder with your father, Joel Weldon, of the Facebook group, the private Facebook group, which is Speaking to Grow Your Business. What's that about?
Yeah, so Joel and I, my dad, we started that about 6 months ago, and we do live trainings every week. So if you are somebody that is wanting to get even better at your speaking, maybe you have to, like a financial advisor, obviously, is speaking to prospective clients, and they need to be a good communicator in order to continue to get more business. So we do a lot of Facebook live trainings on how to be even better virtual speaking, in-person speaking. And so Joel and I do these. There's Q&A and people can ask questions. And so we do that every week. So the name of it is Speaking to Grow Your Business. And we have a lot of people that are absolutely terrified of speaking, but they know they need to do it because that is what the world we're living in right now. This is a speech right here. Whether you're speaking one-to-one or one-to-many. And then we have some people in the group that, they're professional speakers. They feel like they're very confident, but they they want to get even better. They're looking for maybe improving their slides or how to tell stories or maybe add humor. So that's where you can go for that.
So Facebook, so I'll include a link in that section down below for that too. Talk about being in the right place, you and your dad being in the right place at the right time. You mentioned time before, about time heals all wounds. And I love that little saying, this too shall pass. I mean, I've used that so many times in times of stress and trouble and worry. This too shall pass. And you know what? It always does. So given where we're at in the world with the pandemic and the shutdown of a lot of live physical events, we've seen more and more podcasts started in the last 12 to 18 months than in the whole 10 years prior. And also, what's that other audio spoken word platform that everyone, all the marketers are talking about at the moment? Can you remember what it's called?
Oh, Clubhouse?
Clubhouse, yes. So that's another, yeah. So that's being a part of such a group, speaking to grow your business, is ideal for any. Look, you've just sold it. Why am I trying to sell your group? There's a link down below to have a look at that. Now, you are the 2 times winner. Forget about having a PhD in laughter university. You are the 2 times winner of the Toastmasters Humorous Speech Contest. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, that was, the first one was in 2000. Wow, I'm dating myself. 2011, I believe, and the second one was 2016. And what would you like to know about that?
All right, what is Toastmasters for people who don't know about Toastmasters?
Okay, great. Well, Toastmasters, a lot of times people think it's just public speaking. Oh, it's for, people who want to be speakers, but it's really a great organization to learn leadership. It's also, I highly recommend it if you are moving to a new place and you don't know a lot of people. Toastmasters, and our group says this, that some of our my closest friends are from Toastmasters. Now, you will find that each Toastmaster club is different. Not all clubs are the same. So you have to find one that connects with you and feels right. We have a really professional group and we have a big group. And so you go to Toastmasters and you work on your speaking skills. And when you're a member, every week you do some form of speaking, whether it's a prepared speech, 5 to 7 minutes. You can talk about whatever you want. You could talk about your dog, parenting. You can promote your business. The point of these speeches is to get certain skills learned and practiced. But the best part about Toastmasters is you get feedback. So we give members written feedback, what was good, what needs to be improved. And we give a lot of tough love. It's not, if you want to just be told like, you're amazing, great, that's not going to make you any better. It's the ones that, kind of, you read it and it's like, that hurts. Those are the ones that are going to make you better. And then you also get somebody standing up, or in this case, virtual, and they're giving verbal feedback on what you did well and what could be improved. And that feedback is invaluable. That's what makes you really get better, because it's so hard when you go to work, you give a presentation, no one's going to sit there and give you a feedback on what you did well and what you didn't do well. They just don't come back and listen to you, right? And then you wonder, what was it? Why didn't they take action? I don't know what I did wrong. So it's a great training ground.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah. So we all, if anybody didn't know what Toastmasters, it's not about eating up breakfast time. It's very business and speaking associated. And in Australia, there's been Toastmasters for years, and it started in America, didn't it? It started in Arizona, did it not? Or
I'm not sure.
I'm thinking of the National Speakers Association.
Yeah, right.
It's your father, Joel, is one of the co-founders of that.
Right.
2 times winner of the humorous speech competition. So were you put up for that, or did you nominate yourself to enter? How did you enter?
I think I would recommend this to you as well, as you're listening, and that is, I never felt ready. I was terrified to do it. I can't think, or I haven't been in Toastmasters long enough. That's how I felt the first time. And as you know, whenever you just say yes to something and you get into it, and my advice is this, and it's never failed, is just go for it. Because even if you don't win, or whatever it is that you're going for doesn't happen, the side effect of saying yes and doing something that scares you will far outweigh the original reason of you saying yes to something. Let me clarify that, because that's sometimes confusing. Like saying yes to a new job. You might say, I'm going to say yes to this job because they're going to pay me a lot of money, right? And then you get into the job and you realize, I'm not making that much money. But because you said yes and you took that leap of faith, I guarantee you're learning some skill that far outweighs maybe that higher pay that you originally wanted.
Yeah.
And the same thing with my dad. We did this Facebook group, and I thought, I'll help dad. I'll help dad with social media, and we get into it. And yeah, that definitely happened. But what far outweighed that is spending time with my dad.
Oh, great.
So you'll find, so back to the contest, when you say yes to something that scares you, the best way to take pressure off yourself is to say, you know what, even if I don't win, something good will come of this because I'm putting myself out there. And every time it happens. Now I did win and that was great. And you'll also find that, just like with anything else in life that you do one thing and you go, wow, I was able to do that.
Yeah.
I wonder what other things I could do. And it's like that domino effect. So no, the answer to your question was no, I never felt ready. I didn't feel funny, but here's the secret. I knew my audience. And that's really what helped me win that contest, because it was all about Toastmasters, the speech. So like if an outsider listened to it, they might go, yeah, that's funny, but I don't really get it. But that's good because everyone in that room was a Toastmaster. I knew they were a Toastmaster and I made it all about Toastmasters. So if you can think of that in your own life, like who is the audience, that's definitely going to help you even more.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yes, it does, 100%. And there's, I've seen at least one. I can't recall if there's two. But you've got those on your YouTube channel. At least I know there's one there anyway. So there'll be a link below. That is so important what you've just said then. Someone once said movement is better than meditation or something similar. And, we can contemplate and stare at the lint in our navel until the cows come home and nothing else will happen. But if you get started, somebody quite famous, I think it was Goethe, however you pronounce that name, German philosopher, said, begin the thing and the power will flow with you, or something similar. And it's very in line with what you've just said, Ben. All right, so you're a 2 times winner of the Toastmasters Humorous Contest, speech contest. You've got your creative message media business. You're with your dad. You've got the Facebook group. What else is working about working with the elderly? Now, you mentioned earlier about that. Touch on that again. How did that start? How did you get to start speaking with elderly people?
That sounds just funny in itself, right? How did you get your start with the elderly?
Yeah, doesn't it?
Wow, she is really successful. She's on the senior circuit.
Oh, my goodness. Oops.
Oh, killing it with the seniors. But, it was actually a friend of mine who was performing for seniors, and she was unable to make it to her comedy bit. And she said, would you fill in for me? And just like with anything, when I first started, it was terrible. I mean, I was doing material that, people our age would connect with, and it wasn't connecting with them. As you know, it's about the audience. And I didn't want to say anything about being old, because I was, and this was like 4 years ago. So I was quite a bit younger than them. And I felt like if I talked about being old, getting old, it would be kind of like, making fun of them or make them feel bad. And I realized very quickly, that's all they're talking about. They're talking about their aches and their pains and getting old and not having sex, whatever, And so when I really learned about what are they talking about, and I started making the material about that, and you can never go wrong with dogs and babies when it comes to seniors. For whatever reason, you could just show pictures of dogs and babies all day long and they would just love it. But, and I also found that they really needed the laugh. Talk about a comeback or a setback.
Yeah.
They really, it was sad. It was really sad a lot of times going in there and seeing them. They can be lonely and they're, but it was amazing getting them to laugh. And there were times, you've probably experienced this too. You're not feeling great. You're down in the dumps. You don't feel like laughing. You're not up for performing, whether it's just getting on a call with someone or going to see a client. You don't feel like you're on because you're pretty down in the dumps or you're tired, something. And every time I felt like that and I went to those places and I performed and they laughed, it was like it was so thrilling to me, and it totally uplifted my mood. So it kind of became selfish, and you'll hear that from comedians sometimes. It's almost like a selfish thing. There is no better sound than the sound, in my opinion, of people laughing, especially when you get a room of complete strangers and they walk into a room of they're complete strangers, and someone on that stage can get them to laugh. And it's like instant bonding. It's like it's magic,
Isn't it?
So seeing that with seniors and they had a great sense of humor. And, as you know, I was able to go back and kind of give the same material because I was like, you guys loved this joke last week because, they, and Mike, there's a high turnover. There's a high turnover at some of those places. So I was able to kind of give the same, didn't have to come up with a whole lot of new material at
same
Dusty Gardens,
audience.
Dusty Gardens, and what was the other one? Boney Back Mountain, Viagra Falls. Those were some of my favorite locations. But yeah, they
Very good, Jenny. Very good. I'm reminded of a former life when I was in corporate world and sales and marketing, the pharmaceutical industry, as it turned out. And my sales manager at the time said, because I was calling on doctors, that was my job. And he said, Mike, when they're laughing with you, they're buying from you, or they're buying you, actually, buying from you. And also, not only is it the best feeling to have an audience of people who don't know you or do know you laugh with you, the sound of it, but it's also a great thing when you can hear yourself laughing, especially if you haven't heard yourself laughing for a long time. It's therapeutic. And you know what I found, Jenny, it's just a decision. Laughter may be actually just a decision away if you allow yourself. I'm talking to our listeners and audience as well. If you can allow yourself, permit yourself to laugh. You don't have to laugh for 5 minutes and be slapping your knee and have tears running down the inside of your leg, but just a little chuckle, can make all the difference.
And Mike, that's a great point, because a lot of times people will say, well, it's been like a month since I laughed, or people come to a comedy club and they go, I needed this laugh. I haven't laughed in so long. And you might be wondering, well, how do you get yourself to laugh when you're just sitting at home by yourself or you're working all day? But if you think about it, there are so many funny memes now, funny videos. If you just go on YouTube or Google and you type in laughing baby or funny dog, or you see that flow rider, which is like the surfer, the manufactured surfer waves, and you Google that or YouTube, and you will see more people wiping out on that thing. And I know I feel terrible, but I'm one of those people that like laugh when people fall down.
Oh, my goodness, we are two peas from the same pod. When people walk into something and bang their head, I don't know why, but I laugh. Blood streaming out, stitches, medic.
Yeah. And so you can find those. They're free. You can find them, and just Melissa McCarthy. If you YouTube like Melissa McCarthy movie scenes, there's a lot of slapstick, and she does like parody songs, and just find what you find funny, and just do like one, 5 minutes every day. Just try to find something, and it's amazing. You start to get that muscle trained, and you laugh, and you're going to start to see the humor in things. And that's another thing. People sometimes go, well, how do you think of funny things? Think of what frustrates you, what really annoys and frustrates you. And then you can turn that into something funny. You can kind of maybe Google that, and see what kind of things you come up with. But memes, YouTube videos, those are all cheap, easy ways to laugh. Look back at your old photos of your old clothes. I was in overalls, Mike, when my husband proposed to me. I was like,
You obviously saw something more than the overalls, the handsome husband.
Yeah, but you got to laugh at yourself, right?
Oh, number one, yes. It's actually something I wrote a post about that recently, about the art, if you want to call it an art, but being able to laugh at oneself. It's a great place to start. And your advice, your recommendation there, that tip you just gave about beginning, find 5 minutes a day. I'd suggest in the morning, but any time during the day. 5 minutes, watch a funny YouTube video. Only needs to be short. You've given some tips on what kind of search terms people can use in YouTube or Google, or just look for Jenny Locklin on YouTube and have a giggle. Jenny, we're about to wrap up. Time always goes fast when you're having fun, and I've had some fun with you in this short interview. I really have, and you made me laugh again. So we did say that you just So Joel Weldon is a very well-known speaker, motivational speaker, 80 years old, still very active, isn't he? Physically active.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got more energy than most. I mean, he hangs out. All of his friends are younger than me, so he hangs out with young people. He's got more energy than anyone I know. He's not quite 80. He'll be 80, but yes.
Okay, well, mate, I love your dad, even though I've never met him. I don't know him personally, but I know of him being Joel Weldon, the speaker, and everything like that, and that's another story for another day, but I do love your dad. And I love you too, Jenny, if you'll permit me to tell you that.
We're besties now, Mike.
What's that? Yeah, we are best of besties. Huh? We took the little finger and give it a winkle.
And then get the little beef fry Estin necklace, the little...
It's in the mail. Half and the half. It's in the mail. I'll buy it today. So to finish off with, the best place to find you is creativemessagemedia.com. The link will be down in the section. Just to finish off with, Jenny, what project are you working on at the moment that gives you the most excitement, gives you the most pleasure, the thing that's really makes you wake up in the morning and think, I can't wait to get into that today?
That's a great question. Let me say this. The biggest project I'm working on is managing. I got parental management. So I'm managing my parents and taking care of them, even though my dad is working but they're getting older. So I'm very involved with my parents. And then I got my 16-year-old. So I'm in the sandwich stage right here.
Yes.
And so just like your viewers, you got to look for what's working. And my dad always says, look for the good, expect the best, and know that it's all part of a plan. And so I think that, I guess just like probably your viewers right now, I'm kind of like one step, just one day at a time. Let's just work on one day at a time. And what kind of humor can we find, even if it's something really silly and ridiculous when you're cooking, when you're driving, when you're with your kid. So to answer your question, I'm kind of just I'm in this sandwich mode. So I'm a caretaker right now, Mike. I guess that's what it is. I'm a caretaker, and I'm trying to also take care of myself, which is important for you viewers. You got to take care of yourself in addition to before you can take care of someone else. So maybe not the most glamorous project I'm working on right now, Mike.
Well, who asked about glamorous? I mean, that's obviously a heartfelt answer, and I'm so glad that you didn't just spit out BS. That came from the heart, and that's what touches people. That's what people want to hear. That's what people connect with. That's what this podcast is all about. Jenny Locklin, I am so happy that you've joined us, and I'm so pleased to have been able to introduce you maybe to a new audience or people that have not met you or know of you. I love you. I love your dad. I don't know your mum personally, but I love her too, and I wish more power to you and to your whole family. Jenny, we're going to wrap it up there. Let me just say thanks again for joining us, and thank you for your pearls of wisdom, and thank you for making me laugh.
Thank you, Mike. And Mike, I got a quote for your listeners too.
Thank you.
About laughter. Okay, laughter. It's a lot like a windshield wiper, right? It doesn't stop the rain, but it allows you to keep going. So remember that about laughter.
Good. Laughter is like the windshield wiper. It doesn't stop the rain. It allows you to keep progressing, moving forward, going, drive. Love it. Metaphor. I'm going to use that and write that, a post about that. I'll give you credit. That's excellent, Jenny.
I got one more for you, Mike.
Keep going.
Laughter is a smile that had an orgasm.
What? Hang on a minute. I say we only had 40 minutes. Let's change that to 4 hours. That's great, Jenny. Thank you very much. I'm going to stop recording, but please stay there, Jenny.